density tuning, and in that video I had made I guess it was just a really quick aside to Burble tuning or pops and bangs, and I had a ton of responses to that. So I wanted to go over, sorry about the compressor noise, I wanted to go over today just real quick what is a pop and bang tune, or a burble tune, or a flame map, or any of those things as they're called in various circles. Flame map is essentially when on deceleration there is excess fuel being burnt in the exhaust of the engine as opposed to in the engine itself. It happens after the combustion stroke, so it's not happening while the engine is making power, it's happening while the engine's not making power. So there's a few questions that come to mind often when customers are looking at these types of tunes. The first one is, will this hurt my engine? The answer to that is ultimately yes. There's a lot of people that say that it's harmless, it's not going to hurt anything, but ultimately you are putting fire in the wrong place inside the motor. So what that does over time is it can definitely hurt things like catalytic converters. You think about a catalytic converter, it's sitting there in the exhaust, and if you're burning a bunch of fuel right in front of it, it's basically just beating on that cat, and eventually the cat's going to fail. Another thing that, same issue, is a turbocharger. So that burn is happening in the exhaust manifold, which is before the turbo. So it's going to put all of that hot fire and pressure through the turbo. Now turbos run off of pressure, but this is a different kind of pressure. This is explosive force versus just moving essentially air. Exhaust is air. Instead of just moving air to make the turbo spin, this is explosive force, which is very different. Other things that it can damage: exhaust valves from additional heat and pressure again, and it can blow out your muffler over time. Clear back at the back of the exhaust, you can have issues with the pops and bangs. All of that unburned fuel being exploded in the exhaust can definitely cause problems. The other thing that can happen, if you do have a full flame tune, so there's enough of this unburnt fuel that it is creating actual fireballs, you could catch your car on fire. If there's an exhaust leak, that fire can exit at where the exhaust leak is, or even back at the muffler itself. That fire can over time catch the bumper on fire. Bumpers are made out of plastic mostly, some of them are fiberglass. Both of those things are fairly flammable. So again, things to be careful of if you're deciding you want a pop and bang tune. Another question we get sometimes is, will this hurt the environment? Is it bad for the environment to have a pop and bang tune? The easy and obvious answer is yes. Unburnt fuel that's not being burnt correctly inside the motor to produce power is a waste. Now, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because some of these pop and bang tunes aren't actually using unburnt fuel, they're just moving when the fuel burns and how it burns. But ultimately, that fuel is not burning where it's supposed to, so it's not good for emissions. But another thing to think about that a lot of people don't think about is the noise pollution. This is annoying, it's loud, there's lots of, I mean, it sounds like firecrackers in many instances, and sometimes it even sounds like gunshots. So if you have somebody who's, sitting at a bus stop, and maybe they're, a war veteran and they have some PTSD, and you go driving by, bang, 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 I mean, what do you think is going to happen? So, things to consider, not just how it sounds for you, but how it sounds for other people. And I'm not talking about the Karens who are in their garden picking weeds and suddenly think that there's gunshots. I'm talking about people who may have severe psychological reactions to your pop and bang tune. So just things to keep in mind. All right, so the next thing to talk about is, how do we make the car pop and bang? Well, the methods of doing so are essentially to change when the fuel ignites. As we were talking about, what causes the pop and bang is the fuel igniting in the exhaust. So how do we force the fuel to ignite in the exhaust? Well, one way is ignition timing. Another way is to just add so much fuel that it's going to burn in the exhaust. And then the next way is with cam timing. Now, on the Subarus, these early ones, we don't really have a lot of cam timing control. They do have a little bit of cam timing control with the intake cam, but it's specifically the exhaust cam that you would have to be able to change the position of in order to get a pop and bang. So that's out of the question. So we have either just add a ton of excessive fuel so that it pops and bangs, or we could just change the ignition timing, which is what we typically do on these cars. So by changing the ignition timing, the engine essentially burns the fuel in the exhaust as opposed to burning it in the cylinder when it's supposed to. I don't have a pop and bang tune on this car right now. There's no burbles, no crackles. I'll enable that in a second and show you how annoying it is on the street if it's set up aggressively. Now you can set it up to be not aggressive as well, and that's where it's kind of, there's a lot of just, you know, what you and the tuner decide to do. If it is something that you want on your car and your tuner is willing to do it, you know, there's a lot of just, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work and not either be too annoying or not aggressive enough? So we're going to pull over up here and we're going to enable this ultra annoying Burble tune for you. Okay, so Burble tune is enabled. We're going to go drive this now. You know, we talked about how you make a car pop and bang using diesel fuel cutoff or ignition timing or additional fuel, or a combination of all of the above. I usually use kind of a combination, but mostly it's just ignition timing. That way we don't end up with a bunch of extra fuel that the car wouldn't already be injecting. God, that's annoying. But it's what people want. So yeah, I'm gonna go turn this off right now. It's just too annoying. I can't even drive a car like this. I don't even want to. We're just gonna neutral into a parking space because it's just too annoying. Ugh, it's so gross. Can't believe people actually want this. But hey, if that's what you're into, I guess who am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't be into? It's just my job to I guess, give it to you. I'm gonna turn this off right now. I'm gonna come in here. We're gonna load the map for the non-Burble, and we're gonna flash this. I don't even want to look at the data log. Give me my better map. All right, done with this flash. Oh, by the way, my laptop hates Burble tunes so much that the 0 key exploded off of it as soon as it heard that I was going to show you guys a burble tune on this car. It literally self-destructed. If that tells you anything, this is the key dance. The key dance. Alright. So in summary, it'll hurt your engine, it'll hurt the environment, it'll hurt people's fragile egos and fragile emotions, and there's just no reason to do it. So for that, you know, if you ask me really nicely, I might give you a burble tune, but odds are I'm going to tell you no. It's, like I said, it's bad for everything. So hopefully I don't get too much hate on this video for hating on burble tunes. Other tuners that use them as a selling point to try to sell more tunes, you know, it's more power to you. If you're making a bunch of money at 50 bucks a flash to do burble stage 2 maps, then cool. I mean, that's money in your pocket. It's no skin off my nose. So, you know, it's a free country, and you know, just try to keep in mind that we're all free to do what we want, but as soon as you piss off enough people, they'll take your freedom away, and you know, the people they're going to come after are you out there on the street with the burbles. You're going to get pulled over, you're going to get a ticket. You know, if you're in certain states, you may get impounded. If you're not, you know, what this does is it creates a lot of hate towards the car community from people outside the car community, and that's not good for anybody. So we want to keep everybody happy, so that we can keep doing what we do. We can keep building and modifying cars, and the way we do that is by not pissing off all the neighbors, by not pissing off the politicians, especially if it becomes somebody's political agenda to ban all of these cars, then that's what's going to happen. So just keep that in mind when you're asking your tuner for a burble tune, or you're doing it yourself, that ultimately it's not going to last if it's abused. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll keep them coming every week. And you know, if you guys have a topic you want to see, like I said, this video was kind of, it wasn't really requested, but it was a hot topic from a couple of weeks ago. Had a lot of the responses to my video a few weeks ago had to do with burble tuning, so I thought I'd do a video on it. Again, thanks for watching, and enjoy, and you know, keep doing what you do.